Now, a few months back, I reviewed this little electronic pump made by CYCPLUS. This thing is super cool if you're going out on a road bike ride or a gravel ride and you want to be able to carry something lightweight, but be able to air up multiple tires. However, this pump suffered from the same problem that most of your trail pumps and your CO2 cartridges suffer from, and that is, there's no way to check what PSI level your tire is actually at. Well, CYCPLUS actually recognized that, and they came out with this brand new unit called the Cube Pro Max. Now, when we take a look at both of these side by side, you can see that the Cube and the Cube Pro Max are quite a bit different in size. Not only that, they're quite a bit different in actual weight. This one comes in right around 97 grams, where this one is a massive 205 grams. However, the Cube is only really specifically designed for road bike tires and gravel tires, where the Cube Pro Max is specifically designed around any type of tire that comes on a bike. So if you have a fat bike, this one would be so much better to go with than the regular Cube. You're gonna get a lot more battery life out of this, being able to air up those larger size tires, because the battery longevity on this is so much greater than what comes in their standard Cube model. So right here, I've got one of my gravel bikes, and this one runs a Schrader valve, and I typically run this particular bike about 40 PSI. So we'll go ahead and get that set to 40 PSI, and then we can thread this on with this little hose here because it's got the Schrader end on it. Once you've got it threaded on, it's pretty much hands-free. See, it's already reading that there were actually 5 PSI in this tire. Even though it felt really flat, looks like there was a little bit air left in it, so we should only have to go up about 35 PSI. To get this thing started, now that we've got it on there and it's reading the tire pressure, you just hit the top button here. And then you can see it slowly start to increase. Now this particular bike does have tubes at the moment, so this will work really well with a tube bike. And it airs it up relatively quickly, about as quick, maybe faster than what I could do with a floor pump, and a lot less effort. And then once we got there, it ran for just a second more to get it right above it. And it looks like it's just below, it's rereading it, and it's just below 40. I guess we could hit the button again to see if we can get it right on 40. See if it's gonna drop again. Looks like it's holding it, but I would say as long as you're within plus or minus 1 to 2 PSI, that's pretty close. Now with the standard Cube, you paid right around $80 to $90 for this, and the Cube Pro Max is gonna come in right at $119. Now on the Cube Pro Max, you are gonna get 3 buttons. This top one right here, you press and hold it, and it'll turn the unit on. The next button down is gonna be a pressure up button. That will change your pressure to a higher setting. And then the lower one is gonna change it to a lower setting. Then whenever you got that pressure set to whatever PSI you're wanting, just install this on your valve and simply hit the power button once. You can either hit the power button again and it'll shut it off, or whenever you hit that specific pressure, it'll shut itself off. So you'll notice throughout the video, I'm using this hose attachment. It just makes it a little bit easier to show you guys the LCD screen, but you don't have to use the hose attachment. You can just simply carry the unit around like this and press this into your Presta or Schrader valve. Now you will have to change this out if you plan on using it for the Schrader or the Presta, depending on which one you have. This end unscrews right here, and then you can put in the appropriate adapter. It comes with all the adapters and everything that you need in the box. I typically leave this in there as Presta, and then whenever I want to use Schrader, what I'll do is I'll just take this little hose with me, and then this hose will thread on the end of the Schrader valve, and then you can just screw this into the pump, and now you're ready to use the Schrader valve. And then if you wanted to use the hose with the Presta valve, it comes with this little attachment right here that just screws into the end of the hose. And now you're ready to use Presta on the hose attachment. This is really cool because you can actually screw this onto the actual valve, hit go, and then just walk away. And then whenever it's done hitting the pressure that you set it to, it'll just stop, and then you can come take the pump off and switch over to your next tire. All right, this is actually a 2.5 inch wide tire that is on the Polygon T6, and we're gonna give it a shot and see. This particular one does have tubes also, We're gonna power this up. I'm gonna air this one up to right at about 25 PSI since this has a tube in it. We're gonna give it a little bit more pressure than what I would typically run on my mountain bikes, but with the tube being in there, we don't wanna get any pinch flats. I went ahead and put the Presta adapter on the end of the hose here so it's easier for you guys to see. Let's go ahead and see how quickly it airs this up. This is definitely a lot slower being such a large tire. And there we go. That didn't take all that long, and I still have full battery bars on here. That's pretty impressive. Now, one thing about all of these electronic pumps is that if you have a pressure gauge on here and you want to set it and dial it in, but you're running tubeless, you could run into some issues where this thing thinks that it's actually at a higher pressure than what's actually in the tires. And that's simply because if you have any sealant blocking the valves, this thing is going to build up pressure based off of that blockage instead of what's actually in the tire. So CYCPLUS doesn't recommend using this for tubeless tires. However, my recommendation is if you want to use one of these type of pumps for tubeless, you can. You just have to make sure that your valves are clear of any sealant or you have some sort of high flow valve system installed on your bike. Okay, this tire is a 26-inch by 4-inch wide fat tire. This thing is pretty much relatively flat. It's not reading any PSI. This tire will max out at 20 PSI. I typically run these between 11 and 15. We're gonna go ahead and push this and just try to get it up to 15. This is probably gonna take a while. This is where it's really nice that you have the hose attachment on this because you can just literally let it sit and hang like this and not have to watch it or pay attention to it. You can just hit the go button and walk away. But I'm gonna sit here and hold this so we can see how long this takes. Now, if you are gonna be holding on to this while you're using it, you're definitely gonna wanna leave this little silicone kind of case around it on there because this unit does get very, very hot. And with a tire of this size, it's really gonna push this thing. I know that this is what the Pro Max is actually designed to do. So let's go ahead and see how long this actually takes. Surprisingly, that didn't take very long, but we did drop 2 PSI. We are down 1 battery bar, but I've aired up a gravel tire, a 2.5-inch mountain bike tire, and now this 4-inch tire. Let's go ahead and try to top this off. And this may be one of the things that you will find yourself with these digital pressure gauges. They're nice, they get you relatively close, but sometimes I just like to go over a PSI or 2 just to kind of make sure that I get it exactly where I want it on these larger tires. Now, you won't see this type of problem on smaller tires quite as much. It's these high volume tires that it's trying to read the pressure as it goes. Now, whenever you order your Cube Pro Max, you are gonna get a little baggie that's gonna come full of all kinds of accessories, like a USB-C cable to USB-A cable to charge up the pump. But then also you're going to get a ball valve, and then you're also going to get a way to convert this from either Presta or Schrader. Now, if you are using TPU inner tubes, they do recommend that you actually use this instead of connecting it directly up to the pump, just because of the amount of heat that actually comes through this pump. So there you go, that's the Cube Pro Max by CYCPLUS. I definitely think you get a much better pump than the standard Cube. It does weigh a little bit more, but that pressure gauge really does make a big difference, so you can know exactly what pressure you're at, and that big battery life. You don't have to worry about this running out of juice while you're out on the trail. All right, guys, if you like this and you want to pick up one of your own cubes, whether it's the regular cube or the Pro Max cube, you can do that by using my links down below. But as always, we'll see you guys in the next one.